Guys, I got cut off on the last one. That's all right. I get about 10 minutes for each one. I'm gonna go ahead and continue here. We're still working on the feed data, so if you didn't get that, go to the last one. This is gonna be the second tutorial. All right, we're on the private asynchronous task using the feed data class that we just made. Get feed async, which is gonna be used up here as you see highlighted. So what we need to do is we need to declare windows.web.syndication. Oops, got the caps on there. Syndication client equals, and then client, we're going to call that client, okay? And then we're going to equal that to a new syndication client, okay? That's the method that we're doing there. All right. So let's go ahead and add the URI, which is type URI, and we're going to call this feed URI equals new URI, and we're going to call this feed URI string, okay? And you see it shows up right up here. I'm just touching the screen, it doesn't work that way. All right, here we go. Now what we need to do is we're going to do a try and a catch, okay? So we're going to do a syndication feed. Oops. Syndication, feed, we're going to call that feed, okay? Syndication feed equals await, and that'll be just like it is up there. Await the client that we just made, dot retrieve feed async, okay? Retrieve feed, feed async. We're going to do feed URI, okay? Now we need to do, basically we're going to do some code that after the retrieve feed async returns the syndication feed, they're going to process the feed, and then it's going to go ahead and put it where it needs to be. So feed URI, okay? So right here, we're going to do feed data, and we're just going to call this feed data. Why not? Equals new feed data, because that's what we called it up there, okay? So we're basically instantiating that, again, that class. And then we're gonna go feed data dot title equals feed dot title dot text, okay? Because we're gonna make that equal to that feed dot title dot text. Now we need to do an if, because we're gonna throw this in there just if feed dot subtitle is not null, is not equal to not equal to null, and let's do this real quick, and feed dot subtitle, if I can spell, dot text is not equal to null, then after that if construct, we're going to go ahead and do this if feed data dot description equals the feed dot subtitle dot text, title dot text, there we go, equals, I'm sorry, not if, feed data dot description equals feed dot subtitle dot text, okay? Now basically what we're going to do is we're going to use the date of the latest post as the last updated date, if that makes sense. So we're going to be working with our date here, so let's go ahead and do feed data dot pub date, equals feed dot items, here we go, this is an integer index, right, dot published date dot date time, okay? Awesome. Now what we need to go ahead and do is we're going to do a for each loop. Why? Because for each is one word on there, because we need to go ahead and be copying all this data for each item. So syndication item in feed dot items. Let's see where we're going. All right, I need this open construct. I'm going to do feed item dot feed item. We're going to call that just feed item. It's easy. Equals new feed item. All right. Then we're going to go feed item dot title equals item dot title dot text. It makes sense. You're going to be doing a lot of that, equals blah 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 dot text. If you haven't gotten into that, go ahead and just try some different tutorials from different people and start figuring out how everything goes. So feed item.pubtext equals item dot what do we need? Published date time. Okay. Then we're going to do feed item dot. We're instantiating that class above. Feed item dot author equals item dot authors. I'm gonna put that there. Okay. Dot name dot, and then we need to put this to a string. Okay. Because we want that to a string. Now we also need to handle the difference between RSS and Atom feeds. If you guys, here's how we're going to do it. I'll just go ahead and type it out in code. If feed dot source format, you need two equal signs here. Okay, is equal to syndication format dot Atom 10. Okay, because that's the format that most of them are. Atom 10. Then feed item dot content equals item dot content dot text. You want to try to, in your programming, account for the stuff that might happen. So we got feed item. If I cut out here, guys, just go ahead and grab the next tutorial where I will finish this up. Okay, the feed data anyway. Feed item dot link equals new URI, and then we'll just say, let's not worry about this real quick. We'll just say, I should have a little link there. Sports news, item.com plus, let's just say item.id. That's going to be incorrect, but we're only feeding in RSS right now. We can talk about the differences. If you want to know the differences, email me and I can talk to you about that. Feed.source format equals syndication format dot RSS, and this is going to be 20. Okay, RSS 20. All right. Then we're going to do feed item. You're basically doing the same thing. Content equals item dot summary dot text. Okay, and then the feed item. Basically, what that means is that each of these items, the RSS and the if you see this, Atom has the feed.content, right, equals content.text, feed.link equals blah, blah, blah. So you got feed dot, and this one says content dot. So you're worrying about, this is item.content.text. What that includes is summary.text is what the RSS returns, okay? So we got feed item.link equals item.links, and this is going to integer index here, and then we're going to do URI. Okay, close that out. There we go. If I can actually, there we go. All right, that clears out. Now we're going to put feed data dot items dot add is feed item, because we're adding the feed item, right, to each one of these, and we went through this for each thing. Okay, then what we want to go ahead and do is we're going to return, after we did the for each loop, the feed data that you got right here. So, and then we want to provide a catch, because what if this doesn't go through? The catch is basically if, oh, well, what if I don't work? Then, or what if it can't try any of these? Well, then it just does a catch. It returns null. Let's say the URI string that you put in for the RSS feeder or the Atom feeder is incorrect, then it'll just return null and it won't fail out your whole program. So put those couple brackets there. Now we need to go ahead and do is return the feed that has a specific title, because if we click on it, we want to know how to do that. So we're going to do a public static, okay? And we're going to do feed data, and we're going to call this get feed. Why not? And we're going to string title right here. Let's go to the next one. We're going to do a variable, and we're going to call that feed data source, okay, equals app.current. This is sort of like this, but this is another section, the resources, which we can talk about that later, and you can find more info on that. Feed data